Hello, for the final project we were tasked with creating a thematic unit and kind of deciding a couple factors like what's the unit, what's the grade level, and then kind of break it down further. So for my unit, I wanted to do exploration and then world travels. In the book it talked about themes like legend, survival, heroes, changes, and all this, and they want the topic to be too broad, that way you can kind of incorporate a lot of things. And I think exploration and world travels is a broad enough topic that allows you to hit everything. My grade level is going to be third grade because this is the kind of part of the big formative years that they're going to be kind of taking in the most information. This is where they're able to kind of comprehend things at a faster rate in comparison to like kindergarten, first and second. And then I'm going to assume this. I have the students all day. I'm going to kind of approach it in a segmented integration, meaning it's going to follow one after the other. And sometimes my timelines take several days rather than just one class time. All right, so the different content areas. The very first content area we're addressing is social studies. So this, I want to focus on traveling themes from the world. Different accents, different outfits, and meals. Excuse me. Oh, I wrote fourth grade. I meant to do say third grade. What we could do, we could do an activity where, this is what I did in fourth grade, sorry. It's where each person can either choose a state or a country, then create a meal. Kind of a fun thing because it allows them to approach this at home. They can kind of Google it, create their own things. I remember for us, we did states, and I did Pennsylvania was the one I drew out of the hat. And I did what was called an Amish apple pie, which was basically a cinnamon roll built into an apple pie. And just kind of this fun thing to let you learn about different cultures. We had fish dishes, we had sweets, we had meats, we had all the different things. And this just kind of lets you take a step back and appreciate what each different area kind of brings to the table and what their specialties are. The materials necessary for this would be cook ingredients that they could do at home and bring to the classroom. Like I said, some of my timelines kind of shift a couple days. This would be a project that you would kind of set towards the end of the week and let the students kind of get done throughout the week. That way it's ready and they have a set they have a set deadline. The next content area is going to be physical education. And this one, again, I want to look around the world, get all these different themes. And in this one, I could kind of get it started by going around the room, asking them different sports that they know, let them list them. That way I'm not influencing them at all. This allows them to kind of test their knowledge and what they've seen, what they've been exposed to. And then finally, after they've given me all they know, I could kind of introduce them to the new ones. Materials necessary would just be the internet to find videos. In some cases, in case there are special instances, you have some of the materials. Here's a link to a YouTube video that kind of goes in depth about it goes into the topic of different sports around the world. It talks about U.S. sports, it talks about foreign sports, kind of universal sports, all these different things to let the students learn about specialties around the world. Don't want to focus just on the U.S. because there are other countries that students will learn when they get older. So the next, or another different content area, would be mathematics. Math is extremely prominent in exploration and travels around the world. It's how we calculate travel times, other measurements. We have different currencies, we have different forms of measurements, like the US uses a different measuring system than the rest of the world, essentially. An activity they could be paired with a partner and kind of create their own little travel agency. This is important because it lets them explain how they want to travel, the method, and then like their pricings, the distances they're able to do. Again, this material would just take like construction paper, pens, pencils, and scissors, kind of things to decorate a poster board. A lot of my activities are going to be hands-on creating something because I think it helps to kind of keep them engaged. If they're getting involved in creating their own process, they'll be able to put their own little spin on it. So you'll see prominently throughout my presentation that a lot of them are going to be these hands-on construction paper styles. Another different area of content is going to be art. Just focus on different art from around the world and create art museum in the class. This allows them to discuss different elements from around the world, looking back throughout history. Different cultures have different painting styles, different media, different kind of TV styles. You have all these different cartoons compared to animes, compared to real life, compared to claymation, all these different forms. And not even just media, you have painting, you have like scratch brush, you have acrylics, you have oil, you have all these different forms. So an activity I think they could be fun and unique for them would be to create a postage stamp that they make unique to them. It can be in any of these different styles. It can be in any medium of art. It allows for diversity and can theme around different events, different places, kind of things that they draw inspiration from. They could look up like their family crest. That's kind of heritage based for exploring their backgrounds. The materials necessary for this, again, like I said, would be scissors, construction paper, and coloring materials, or like paint kits or something like that. The next different content area could be English language arts. For this one, we can focus on exploration. We can do a diorama of different scenes showing forms of exploration. This allows students to decide what they show and express creativity and an understanding of conveying their meaning. I can kind of set guidelines. If I want it to be different cities, I can be different like continents. It can be broad things that allow them to put their own spin on it. And it ties back into English because it's kind of how they're going to convey the meaning themselves. It allows them to explain what they're seeing rather than being specifically told what to make. It makes it unique, and if you have a bunch of different students, they can all create their own variations on stuff. Again, necessary materials for this are going to be like a box to kind of frame it in, like the picture I have here. It's set in a box. Construction paper, scissors, pens, and pencils. Finally, the last different content area is going to be science. For science, it's important to also explore different time periods, different creatures that were alive. An activity that can be done is to look at a timeline and observe different bones for unique animals. Obviously, looking back at this, you can see the different time periods. Some of the fossils are built into the ground there that show different species as the times progress. And then finally on top is going to be the humans and the modern day animals. It's got the timeline breakdown on the right side, so you can see the age in years. It's going to be millions to billions to modern. Like I said, the activity could be looking for timelines online. So the materials necessary would be the internet to look at these timelines, or some printouts of the timelines for the students to look at. Another thing you could do is you can get those little geology kits that they can dust for their own bones, or you can, even at most schools have a sandbox. You could take everyone outside and bury different custom things out there, let them do their own exploration, kind of find what they want. Alright, so moving on to books about exploration. These are all going to be books I have at my house. So you'll notice there's kind of a trend of similar books in a row, and then change, and then more similar. So the first one is going to be Flat Stanley, His Original Adventure. In this book, Stanley is flattened by a billboard, and he has to do many different things. He gets flown like a kite by his brother. He stops crime by pretending to be an art piece. He mails himself around the world. All these are just classic examples of exploration because they show him going to different places, doing different adventures. It's also relevant because it involves art. Like at the art museum, he gets to observe all these different styles. Involves social studies because he's traveling around the world while doing it. Next book would be Flat Stanley, Stanley's Flat Again. Similarly, in this book, Stanley is flat again, and he has to kind of go figure out why. In this one, they kind of bring it into that it's a disorder he has. So he enters more sporting events and has to climb into a building to save his classmate because the building's breaking or something. In the end, he ends up flat. This is relevant because this one involves science. the science behind it would be why he's flat, and then the physical education could be when he has to do sporting events, like he again does like kite flying, I believe. He does all these different things. He has to go through physical stuff to kind of save his classmate. Alright, so the next one, again, I have more Flat Stanleys. Next one is Flat Stanley Worldwide Adventures. In this book, Stanley is, him and his little brother Arthur are fans of this guy in Japan. So Stanley does what any kid would do, and he mails himself to Japan. While he's there, he gets to see all the culture, he gets to try new food, meet new people, and then he has to fight off some ninjas because he's in Japan. And this one is relevant because, again, he gets to see the world, he gets to feel different cultures and explore new things. It involves art because he gets to see like origami, different food styles, and then social studies because he's traveling to see Japan. He's learning all these things about their culture that he wouldn't have known in America. Next book, it's Flat Stanley, Invisible Stanley. This one's a turn because he's still flat, but he's also invisible this time. He finds himself invisible after a thunderstorm. Much like being flat, there are no cures for this. He has to help some girl in a bike race. He has to do all these things, and he kind of gets sad because he can't be seen. So his family recreates the thunderstorm with pots and pans and flashing lights, and somehow it works and brings him visible again. This one's exploration because it explores the side where it's a disorder where he's invisible, and it kind of explores being invisible. Excuse me. This one's relevant because of the science, like I said, the science behind being invisible. And then he has physical education by helping with the bike race. He gets to do all these different sports. Each book has another sport that he gets involved in that is different from the last. Okay, finally my last page about Flat Stanley, I promise. Flat Stanley, the Mount Rushmore Calamity. In this book, he sets off to Mount Rushmore. They explore all these different aspects of it, and he runs into people, and he gets in trouble because they use dynamite. They get stuck in a cave, and then they have to kind of figure out how to get out, and he uses his size, as he always does. This one's relevant because it involves social studies. He gets to see a monument as in Mount Rushmore. Math, because he has to kind of calculate his size to get out of the cave in. He has to... most of the Flat Stanleys are going to be around math because they're all about his body size. And then physical education because he's doing all this exploring. He's walking around. He's exploring these different places. And then U.S. Capitol commotion. Goes to D.C., gets blown away by the flagpole. By the wind, he meets the president, and he gets to see all the different monuments. Sorry, I am going to speed up because I know it's about 13 minutes out of 15. Relevant because it involves social studies. He gets to meet different people. He gets to see all these new cultures and kind of experience it all. Alright, next books are going to be Magic School Buses. Twister Trouble. In this book, Miss Frizzle takes the students through this weather amusement park to learn about tornadoes. This one is about exploring weather patterns and different kind of things. It deals with science, so I think that's kind of a big section of it. Next one is going to be Magic School Bus, The Search for the Missing Bones. In this one, she takes them to... sorry, I just wanted to say this because I thought it was comical. She takes them to the Human Costume Company, learns about different bones in the body throughout the building. As progressed, they learn different bones and functions they serve. This one's relevant because it deals with the science of the human body and all the anatomy and the makeup of that. And then finally, the Magic Treehouse. Pirates Past Noon gets to talk about history, and the kids get captured and taken to by the pirates, look for gold. It's relevant because it deals with math and social studies. They get to learn about gold and different currencies, and also social studies because they get to learn about history of the pirates. And then finally, the Magic Treehouse, The Knights at Dawn. This one, they go back to the medieval times and get jailed. They have to break out, and it gets relevant because it deals with history and kind of different interactions among people in past times. So that is going to be all the books I have, and it kind of they all revolve around the thematic of exploration and the world travels. And I just wanted to say thank you for the semester, and I hope you have a good summer.